Hey friends, we are gonna get on the good foot today and take a little quick foot care session. So here's what you're gonna need. You will need 2 therapy balls. So you need the opportunity to use them one at a time, but then you need something to tether them together. So if you don't have the mesh bag, remember you can put your 2 balls into a tube sock and tie it off. And then the other thing that you'll need is a half dome. And remember, if you don't have a half dome, you can roll up a blanket or use a rolled up yoga mat as well. So there's lots of different options. Get creative. There's no one right way to do it. So to begin, we're gonna use the 1 therapy ball on the ground, and we're gonna start by smushing our feet, or smushing the ball, I should say. So stagger your feet so you have 1 foot in front of the other. If you need help with balance, hold on to a chair or a wall, and you're just gonna step your weight forward into the ball. So you're smushing the ball, and then you're gonna rock back, and you're gonna step forward and rock back, and just find your rhythm, a rhythm that feels good. And each time you rock back, that's an opportunity to shift the spot that the ball is contacting on the sole of your foot. And if you want more pressure, you just step harder or step more of your weight forward. And if you want less pressure, then you don't take as great of a shift of your weight forward. And so I'd like for you to try to find 1 spot on the sole of your foot that feels, shall we say, interesting. And go ahead and hold there. So shift your weight forward to a comfortable level right there. And then if you imagine that this is your heel and this is the rest of your foot, you're gonna keep your heel where it is, and you're gonna windshield wiper your foot over the ball. So the ball's not really rolling at all. It's more of like snagging the skin and the tissue and dragging. It's called shear, and your cells love it, and your nervous system loves it. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to the other foot, okay? And again, just tune into your rocking forward and back. Again, use the wall if you need some support, or a chair. If you want more pressure, you're stepping forward a little bit harder, more firmly onto the ball. If you want less pressure, you're keeping a little bit more weight into that back foot. And then again, we wanna go ahead and find a spot that feels interesting. So go ahead and rock your weight forward onto that spot that feels interesting. And then you're gonna windshield wiper your foot over the ball. So again, you're not really totally sliding off the ball. Hopefully you're doing this with bare feet, and you can feel how the ball is kind of gripping onto the skin and the tissue of the sole of your foot, and is dragging it, shearing it. Sometimes shear has an interesting connotation, but in this context, it's good. Okay, so you can go ahead and put your ball off to the side, and let's take a top of the foot stretch. So again, balance with the wall if you need help there. Take your right foot back and curl the toes under, so the toenail side of the toes is pressing against the ground. And if you feel a good stretch in the top of your foot, maybe up into the front of the shin, great. Hang out here. If you want a little bit more sensation, some ways to increase that sensation might be to drag your back foot isometrically forward. So it's not actually gonna go anywhere, but it's just that activating. And then another option is to step the foot back further. Okay, so whatever works for you is great. And when you find that comfortable place, that manageable stretch sensation, we're gonna work it a little bit. So by turning up from the thigh bone, you're gonna turn your thigh in. So that's making my kneecap point over to the left. That's making more of the pressure from the floor go towards the pinky toe side of my foot. And then I'm gonna do the opposite. From my thigh bone, I'm gonna turn my thigh out. Okay, so my right knee now is pointing over to the right side a bit, and I'm feeling this more over on the big toe side of my foot. And I'm just gonna do that back and forth, that rotation from my thigh bone back and forth. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So step your right foot up, and step your left foot back. Curl the toes under. So again, check in with the stretch sensation. If it feels good, stay there. If you want more, you can isometrically drag that back foot forward. You can even step the back foot back a little bit further as well. And then once you get there into that happy place of good stretch, we're gonna, again, move from the thigh bone. So you're going to first internally rotate your thigh bone. So your left kneecap is pointing in towards the right. And you're feeling more pressure from the floor on the pinky toe side of your foot. And then again, from the thigh bone, turning from the thigh bone, externally rotating the thigh bone. So now the left kneecap is pointing out to the left and feeling more pressure from the floor contacting the big toe side of your foot. And then you can rotate from side to side. Okay. Now go ahead and step your left foot forward and feel your foot kind of smush back into place. Now we're gonna come into a calf stretch. So you're gonna need your half dome or whatever substitute you're using. And we're gonna start with the right foot. But before we step the foot up on there, we're going to come back to that thigh bone rotation. So looking at your knee, your kneecap, and maybe your foot where your toes are pointing, that can give you a clue as to where your thigh bone is. So if you start off with your toes and your kneecap pointing forward, let's move from the thigh bone and rotate externally so that now the knee and the toes are pointing out to the right. So can you keep your knee pointing out to the right? Can you keep your thigh rotated externally? But can you kind of hook your foot in so that your toes point forward a little bit more? So instead of having the sole of your foot flat and flush towards the ground, it'll probably be a little turned up on the inside, on the big toe side of your foot, and that's okay. So see if you can keep that, and go ahead and put the ball part of your foot up on to the half dome. And so for me, the ball of my foot is still kind of peeled up because my thigh is externally rotated. So I'm gonna reach from the ball of my foot down. So I'm moving just through my foot and not through the other parts of my leg. And I push the ball of my foot down onto the half dome. And then I'm gonna start to step my other foot forward. Okay, so my thigh is still externally rotated. My knee is still pointing a little bit out to the right. And once I feel a good stretch, we're gonna stop, okay? So you can stay here with your feet kind of more in a line. Deepening the stretch sensation would be taking your left foot forward even more. Now, while you're here, see if you can relax your toes and see if you can keep pushing down through the ball of your foot without changing the rotation of the thigh at all. So this is just moving your foot. And can you feel how the stretch sensation changes when you push down through the ball of your foot? Tune into that for a moment. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to the other leg. So step your left foot back, 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 and step your right foot flat on the ground. Now, before we go over to the other side, you might need to move your half dome over or whatever. Stick out your left leg and let's check in with the rotation. So starting out, my toes are pointing straight ahead, my knee is pointing straight ahead. I'm gonna externally rotate my thigh bone so that my toes and my knee are pointing out to the left, okay? Now I'm gonna keep my thigh bone and my knee where they are, and I'm just gonna rotate from my lower leg, from my ankle, and turn my toes to face forward as much as I can. And again, my foot is at an angle. The sole of my foot is not flush towards the ground here, okay? So I'm gonna put my foot up on the half dome just like that so that my thigh is still in that externally rotated position. And then without changing the thigh bone, without changing the direction of the knee, I'm gonna use the muscles in my foot and the mobility in my foot to reach the ball of my foot down onto the half dome. And effectively, this is creating an arch in your foot. So I'm gonna keep that there, and then I'm gonna start to step my right foot forward until I feel a good stretch. This is good for me right here. So if you wanna keep going, you can keep stepping your right foot forward. And remember, we're gonna take a moment here to relax the toes and then see what it feels like. See how the stretch sensation changes when you push down into the ball of your foot. Really reaching the ball of the foot down into the foam roller, the half dome. Okay, and let's go ahead and step the right foot back, and the left foot back. Take a deep breath in and out and feel. Okay, now we're gonna come down to all fours, and this is where you're gonna need your 2 therapy balls tethered together. So here in all fours, we're gonna do some shin rolling. So you can feel where your bony shin is, and then if you go to either side of that bone, you can feel it's a little squishier, right? You've got some good musculature here that we can work on, and all of this has an effect on your feet. So you're going to essentially, the little space in between the 2 therapy balls is going to be the space that the shin bone rests in. And then the therapy balls will roll on either side of that bone. So I'm gonna put the therapy balls down on the ground. I'm gonna start with my right leg, and I'm coming into a bit of an all fours position. I'm gonna start with the therapy balls up towards my knee, and then I'm just gonna bring my knee forward towards my hand so the balls roll down towards the ankle. And then I'm gonna move my knee away from my hands so the therapy balls roll back up towards the knee. And I'm just gonna go back and forth here. So it's super ideal if you have the mesh bag and you can do this ball on skin. So if you can roll up your pants to contact your skin, but even if you can't do that, it's still gonna be really effective. This is one of my favorite places to work, and it's one of those places that people just don't think about as being a place where you would want a massage, but it really is nice, and it really does have an effect on your experience or your feeling of the health of your feet and of your knees. Okay, let's go ahead and switch. We're gonna go over to the other side. So switch over your tether. Come into all fours. We've got it on the left side now. And so again, you're wedging your shin, or you're resting your shin bone in between the 2 therapy balls. And as you bring your knee towards your hands, the balls roll down towards the ankle. And as you move your knee back away from your hands, the therapy balls roll up towards the knee. And so you're just gonna go the whole length of your lower leg. Enjoying some breaths, some full relaxing breaths. And just take one more swipe there, up and down. Great, okay, go ahead and put those therapy balls off to the side. Now we're gonna stay here with our hands on the ground, but curl your toes under so that your heels point straight up towards the ceiling. So what we do not want, or what we want to avoid, is our heels pointing out side to side. Let's try to point them straight up towards the ceiling. Okay, and shift your hips back towards your heels. So hopefully you're feeling some stretch in the feet, in the toes. And if this feels good, you can walk your hands back towards your knees. If you want to increase the sensation, you can come up if you want to increase the sensation. If you come upright and you feel so much tension come into your jaw and your neck and your shoulders, bring it back down. That's just too much today, okay? So wherever you're hanging out, now you're gonna press your toes down into the mat, almost as if you press your toes down strong enough, it'll force you to go forward, okay? But you're not really gonna go anywhere. Now, it's pretty likely that your first, second, third toes are definitely on the mat. But depending on the shape of your foot, the mobility of your toes, your ring toe or your pinky toe, they might or might not be making very much contact with the ground. So whatever toes are making contact with the ground, go ahead and press with those. For 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let's go ahead and come up to stand. And we're just gonna do a quick balance to finish up with. So if you need to hold on to a chair or the wall for stability, please feel free to do that. We're gonna shift our weight into the right foot, and you can pop up onto your left foot toes. So ideally when you're balancing, you can look at something that is not moving, that's not human, because we're always moving. So if you need to look away from me, because I'm gonna wobble, then you can, it's okay. So if keeping just the left foot toes on the ground feels like enough of a challenge for you, great. Stay there, keep the left foot toes on the ground, but maybe you can bring your whole foot up away from the ground and draw your knee up towards your torso. And then maybe you can take your knee out to the side and see how your foot and your lower leg have to react to keep you balanced when you take your leg out to the side. And go ahead and bring your leg back into the center. And now start to point your knee down towards the ground so your foot comes behind you. And notice how your standing leg foot has to react, okay? The wobbling that you feel, that does not mean that you are bad at balancing or that you cannot balance. That means that your body is adapting and learning and getting stronger. So reframe that thinking so that you know that, oh, your body is working really hard and it is strong and resilient and it is ready to support you. Let's go ahead and put the left foot down, shift your weight into your left foot, and now pop up onto the right foot toes. So again, this might be enough of a balance challenge for you. So you can stay here. Another option is to pick your knee up towards your torso. So your foot's coming all the way up away from the ground. And again, we're sensing, we're feeling what is going on down in that standing leg foot, and feeling that wobble and noticing how intelligent our body is all on its own. Go ahead and point your knee out to the side maybe. And the reason that we did all of that rolling and stretching and all of that stuff before we came to the balance is because that contact with the therapy ball has a way of kind of waking up those parts of your body that you're maybe not used to using regularly. Go ahead and point your knee down towards the ground so your foot comes back behind you. And so really the self-massage is teaching your brain where your body is. So it's really cool and it feels good. Take one more breath here and go ahead and put your right foot firmly back down. Now just feel your feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. blink open your eyes. Great job. I hope this makes your feet and your lower legs feel amazing. I'll see you next time.